Hi, everyone, and welcome to our May episode. We have a lot going on in the month of May. Hope your research has been going well so far this year. We're going to be talking about the IGSI Saturday, Irish Saturday, that's going to be going on for the month of May, and then also the webinar, which is going to be an online-only event. We'll talk about that as well. If you're planning on going to Ireland, got someplace you might want to go visit when you're over there. And also, we're going to have a discussion with a Irish Master Distiller who's now in the United States, and he tells us what brought him here and how he got to become a master distiller. So we have all that coming up here in just a few minutes. Let's get first of all to what we have planned for our Irish Saturday. Our Irish Saturday for the month of May will be held on May 10th, so stop on by the Hoffman Research Library, which is located at the Minnesota Genealogy Center in Mendota Heights, Minnesota. Here's an opportunity to get some of your Irish research questions answered. The Minnesota Genealogy Center is located at 1385 Mendota Heights Road, Suite 100. You can also stop by the library during regular business hours. And to find out more about the library and hours of operation, go to the website at mngs.org. And our May webinar will feature Elizabeth Williams-Gamal. Her topic is called Unlocking Alien Passenger Codes. This presentation will be held on May 31st, and it is an online presentation only. The webinar will begin at 10:30 a.m. and will last until noon Central Time. Finding an immigrant's name on a passenger list is exciting, but there's more information on that sheet than you might expect. Now, learn what the cryptic abbreviations and number codes jotted on the U.S. Customs manifests can reveal about an immigrant's experience when they arrived in America. Registration is available on the irishgenealogical.org website. Again, that date is May 31st, and it is an online-only event. Are you planning a trip to Ireland sometime this year, and in Dublin in particular? Well, if you're looking for a place to stop by, why don't you try looking at the Irish Whiskey Museum? We're in the center of Dublin, and they talk about the number of distilleries that there are in Ireland and the history and the culture of Irish whiskey. Here's the story. The museum is located right across the street from Trinity College on Grafton Street in the center of Dublin. They offer 4 types of tours, each with a different flavor to it. Each tour is unique, but the idea is that it celebrates the various distilleries that make up Ireland. In 2013, there were only 4 distilleries. Now there are 24, with another 28 on the way. The museum explains the history of Irish whiskey from centuries ago until now, and it is totally independent from any of the distilleries and centers on the island. They explain the importance of the Irish spirit throughout the history and give you the details on how it started and progressed through the years. You get a good feeling on how whiskey became an important part of Irish culture. Now, the day I was there, our guide Ellen gave the background on how whiskey was distilled back in the old days.
Once they discovered how to make whiskey, they started burning the inside.
There are 4 different rooms on the tour, each room with an explanation of the history of Irish whiskey. Then at the end of the tour, you get an opportunity to learn how to taste test the various brands that are available in Ireland and understand and how to tell the difference. And yes, there is a store where you can purchase small bottles and ask questions to experts that are on staff. It's not all serious. In fact, some of the rooms are quite hilarious as you are sitting there hearing the explanation of Irish whiskey. It's like someone from the past will come out of nowhere and tell you all about it themselves.
And looks it. Despite Bushmills having the world's oldest.
Then at the end of the tour, you get an opportunity to learn how to taste test the various brands that are available in Ireland and understand what the difference is between the various whiskeys. And for the kids and those who don't drink, they also have soft drinks on hand as well. Do you know the most popular brand of whiskey in Ireland? They'll also explain that to you. The museum offers private events, and you can book a tour online. Most tours last about an hour. Well, if you're into Irish whiskey, you don't have to go to Ireland necessarily to get a taste of some really good Irish or Irish American whiskey. There's a master distiller, which is now living in the United States, and he tells us about what brought him over here and how he became a master distiller. He is considered by some in the world of whiskey as a legend in Irish whiskey. A master distiller for almost 13 years, Brian Nation practices art in Irish whiskey back at his native home in Ireland. Now he is the master distiller at O'Shaughnessy's Distillery in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where he blends together some of the best Irish American whiskey in Keeper's Heart.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do and the vision that we have at O'Shaughnessy Distilling and Keeper's Heart is to bring the best of both Irish and distilling whiskey making traditions together. Irish and American whiskey making traditions together. And we're doing that two ways. So one is the whiskies that are on market today are currently blends of Irish whiskey that we source from Great Northern Distillery. So we source 4-year-old pot still, 4-year-old grain whiskey. And then we blend it with 4-year-old American rye and 4-year-old bourbon that we source from MGP in Indiana. So they're the whiskies that are on the shelf today, as well as some 100% Irish whiskies as well that we have finished and released. But then we're also producing American whiskey using that quintessential Irish style of triple copper pot distillation. So from Q4 of this year, we'll be releasing our first self-distilled whiskies, which will be an American pot still, which is using that quintessential Irish style of malted barley and unmalted barley, distilling it 3 times in copper pot stills, and then actually Americanizing it by maturing it in virgin American oak barrels, because the greatest majority of whiskey in Ireland will be matured in refill barrels that have already matured bourbon whiskey in the US.
And I was going to say that makes it so unique compared to other types of products that are out there now.
It does. And I think that's one of the things that really excited me about this move across to the US. There's lots of people, there's not many people get the opportunity to be involved in building a brand from the ground up. I was fortunate enough to work with brands that were, historical in nature, a couple of 100 years old, and you were carrying on that tradition. Whereas now we get the opportunity to build a brand that essentially didn't exist in 2020, was put on the market. Its first time on the market was in 2021, late kind of summer 2021. And just to see it grow over the last couple of years has just been an amazing adventure for the whole team and everybody at Keeper's Heart.
But Brian's intent was not originally to be a master distiller when he was in school.
In 12 years, but with 2 different companies. So it's been a very interesting journey, let's just say that. In my kind of trajectory to get there it certainly wasn't something that I started out as from college. My background is chemical and process engineering. So being from Cork in Ireland, your expectation was when you qualified as a chemical engineer, you would have ended up in a pharmaceutical company. Because that's a very big hub for pharmaceuticals is in Cork. So I worked in a pharmaceutical company for a period of time, and it was fine and I got good experience, but I felt that there was something else I wanted. And so there was an opportunity came up to go in as an environmental engineer into Irish Distillers in Middleton and Cork. So I took that opportunity and I worked in the company to help with getting them licensed to distill. It was the first time that distilleries were coming in under the Environmental Protection Agency format. So they needed an Environmental Protection Agency license to effectively distill and operate. So I did that for a year. Then I moved into projects within the distillery and, got to be involved in helping grow the capacity of the distillery with very little investment at the time. And by doing that, I got to learn a lot about the process and learned about the production. And then I moved into production in 2002 and ultimately started working alongside the then Master Distiller Barry Crockett. and spent a number of years effectively working within the production department, learning from Barry, doing brewing and distilling exams. And I think timing had a lot to do with it as well, because Barry was nearing retirement. So when Barry retired in 2013, I took over as Master Distiller for Irish Distillers. And, I feel for me and my family, it has been the best decision we made, and are really, really enjoying life in the US now. I wouldn't have known the family before this opportunity arose. In fact, the way the whole kind of conversation started was Patrick O'Shaughnessy, one of the founders, actually reached out to me in a LinkedIn message. And I still laugh to today as to why I answered that LinkedIn message, because, in the role I was in, you would have got a number of these queries coming through LinkedIn and generally wouldn't have answered them. But for some reason, I answered this guy's LinkedIn message. And it was really just the response was, I'm not interested in looking for another job, but look, let's have a conversation and we'll see what opportunities are there. So then I had a conversation back in November 19 with Patrick, and you could tell that he really had a passion and a belief in this opportunity. And again, it was a great conversation, but not something that I was going to jump at. But himself and two other investors arrived in Ireland a couple of days later after our phone call, and I met them with my wife, and we had dinner, and it was amazing dinner because we spoke for probably 5.5 hours. We actually closed the restaurant that evening, and we never spoke about whiskey. We just spoke about life. We spoke about family. We spoke about our kids. We spoke about the silly things we did when we were growing up, and at the end of the conversation, it was kind of like, we haven't spoke about whiskey. And I said, yeah, I know, but they wanted to have another conversation. So I said, yeah, okay. But what was very interesting was when I got into the car to go home, my wife said to me, if we'd no kids, I'd move to Minneapolis in the morning. Now, I had no idea. He really had no concept of where Minneapolis was or anything like that. But it was just it was one of those moments where you kind of go, wow, this is something that, she is excited about as well. And that's effectively how the journey really began, because we decided then to move, or to actually go and visit Minneapolis. And we did that in January 1st, 2020, which, for Minneapolis, that could be quite a severe visit in terms of weather conditions.
If you could get used to that, you're doing well then.
You could, but I suppose when we went there first, it was actually lovely 4 days that we was there.
Okay.
It was probably 39 degrees, blue skies. There was snow on the ground, but there was no snow while we were there. And I still joke with the O'Shaughnessy's, because they told me it's like this most of the time. And obviously that was not true, because we've been through a few winters now, and it's been quite dire. But I have to say the O'Shaughnessy's were fantastic and steadfast in their intention. They were willing to set up an Irish entity in Ireland so that we could work from Ireland for the first year and then move over. So they made the transition as easy as they possibly could, and we'd be forever appreciative of that, because if that wasn't there, I don't think we would have made the move or taken the risk.
So you're kind of a rarity here in the U.S. as far as Irish Master Distiller. There aren't too many.
No,
with your background.
Yeah, there wouldn't be. And look, as I keep telling people, my fortune was being fortunate enough to have the role that I had in Middleton. So that obviously I wouldn't be here if I hadn't had that opportunity first day. So I'm very appreciative of that, and love the idea of being an Irish whiskey maker in the US, and trying to bring some of my experience to American whiskey, and seeing the impact that can have on taste profiles and flavors. It's just really exciting.
And to learn more on Brian Nation and the O'Shaughnessy Distilling Company, go to their website at osdistilling.com. And a little bit about the Irish culture of Irish whiskey. And thanks to Brian Nation for taking some time to talk to us and telling us about how he got to be a master distiller. And that's our episode for the month of May. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again the month of June. Are you not a member of the Irish Genealogical Society International but would like to be? Here's all you have to do. Head to the website at irishgenealogical.org. There you'll find the join link on the left side of the page, and that's where you can sign up and become a member. You can also register for any of the webinars this year on the website as well, and as a member you can also see past webinars from the previous year. And besides enjoying all the members' benefits, you can always sign in and go over many of the programs and services that the IGSI has to offer, and that would include viewing past webinars, surname interests, the e-newsletter. Would you like to be a volunteer at the IGSI? Here's all you have to do. Get on the website at irishgenealogical.org and scroll down to the volunteer link. There you can see all the options that are available to you. That would include helping out with the Irish Fest in Minnesota, or any of the social and educational programs, or you could even help out with the social media platforms and podcasts, or the SEPS magazine and Genealis newsletter. Just click on the Volunteer Now link and sign up. For more information about the Irish Genealogical Society International, go to the website at irishgenealogical.org. And for questions regarding the podcast, send an email to podcast@irishgenealogical.org.